December 7th, 1941. The Pacific was calm that morning. Waves rolled lazily beneath the gray sky outside Oahu. And then roar. Engines screamed overhead. Bombs fell like meteors. Battleship Roe vanished in smoke and flame. Japan had struck Pearl Harbor. Among the many sailors and officers who cheered that day was a young lieutenant named Makitsura Hashimoto. He wasn't in the air. He wasn't aboard the ships that attacked. He was a submarine man, quiet, disciplined, and fascinated by the ocean silence. When news of Pearl Harbor reached his post, Hashimoto didn't celebrate wildly. He simply nodded. He knew this was only the beginning. The Imperial Navy believed it could America before it woke. In Tokyo's war rooms, admirals spoke of destiny, of a 1,000-year empire that would rule the seas. But in the back of Hashimoto's mind, a quieter voice whispered, "The sea has no masters." Months passed. Japan swept across the Pacific. Guam, wake the Philippines. Victories came fast. Too fast. And beneath it all, the submarines prowled. Hashimoto studied the new tactics. Ambushes, night attacks, long-range reconnaissance. The ocean became his classroom. By 1942, he was assigned to a new command, the I-24, one of Japan's most advanced subs. Sleek, lethal, and eerily quiet. He was proud, but he also knew that every dive took him further from sunlight and closer to death. Then came Guadalcanal. The tide began to turn. American Marines dug in on that humid island. And for the first time, Japan met an enemy that refused to yield. Hashimoto's submarines slipped through those waters, hunting supply ships. Sometimes he'd surface at night and see the horizon flickering with gunfire. Like lightning from hell, he realized the war was changing. Japan's advantage in surprise was gone. Now, it was a test of endurance. By 1943, the Imperial Navy was bleeding. Hashimoto watched as destroyers and carriers he once admired disappeared beneath the waves. Fuel was scarce, morale worse. The sea that had promised glory now demanded sacrifice. Still he followed orders, patrolling, evading, surviving. He lost friends to depth charges that crushed hulls like tin cans. When he surfaced after one attack and saw oil and debris floating where another sub had been, he understood. The ocean was filling with graves. That autumn, something inside him hardened. He wrote in his log book, "We fight not for victory now, but because turning back is impossible." The American juggernaut was unstoppable. New radar, new planes, new ships. Hashimoto's crew could feel the enemy's reach tightening. When sonar pings echoed through the hull, every man held his breath. Sometimes they hid for hours, silent, sweating, praying the destroyers above would pass. Middle finger when the depth charges exploded, the lights flickered, pipes burst, and prayers became screams. Each time they survived, Hashimoto bowed his head in gratitude to the sea, not to the empire. Then came Tokyo's next plan. Kitten, human-guided torpedoes. Pilots sealed inside steel coffins, steering toward death. They called it honor. Hashimoto called it desperation. Yet he obeyed. He trained crews to launch them, watching young men salute before sliding into their final voyage. He envied their certainty, even as he pied it. By 1945, Hashimoto commanded the I-58, one of the last operational submarines Japan still trusted. His orders, attack any American ship you can. No merci, no retreat. But by then, the empire was collapsing. Cities burned under B-29 raids. The sea routes were choked with wreckage. When Hashimoto looked at the map, he saw not strategy, but ruin. Then late one July night, fate crossed his path. The USS Indianapolis, a heavy cruiser, was steaming alone across the Philippine Sea. Her mission had been top secret. She had just delivered parts for a new weapon, the atomic bomb, to Tinian Island. Now she was heading for Leh. Unescorted, Hashimoto's lookout spotted her silhouette against the faint moonlight. A massive target. Hashimoto ordered the periscope raised. He watched in silence. The ship's wake shimmered white. He whispered the numbers. Range bearing speed. Then quietly fire torpedoes. 6 left the tubes. Minutes stretched like hours. Then the night split apart. Two direct hits. Fire, chaos, screams carried on the wind. The Indianapolis rolled, broke, and sank. In 12 minutes, 1,000 American sailors were thrown into the dark water. Hashimoto's crew stood motionless, listening to the fading cries. No one cheered. He lowered the periscope. Down periscope, he said softly, as if closing a coffin. For days later, the war ended. Japan surrendered. For Hashimoto, the silence that followed was heavier than any depth charge. He returned to a homeland he barely recognized. Cities flattened, families starving, the Navy dissolved, and then came the summons. The Americans wanted him to testify at the court-martial of Captain Charles McVay, commander of the Indianapolis. They wanted to know why the ship was lost. Hashimoto stood in a U.S. courtroom, facing the very men he had fought. Reporters expected arrogance. Instead, they saw humility. He told them McVay had no warning, no radar contact, no chance. The sea decided, he said. His words carried more weight than any verdict. Even some of the American sailors who'd survived felt a strange respect for him. After the trial, Hashimoto lived quietly. He became a Shinto priest, praying for the souls of the dead, Japanese and American alike. When asked if he felt pride or regret, he answered simply, "I did my duty." But the sea remembers everything. Decades later, when the U.S. Navy finally cleared Captain McVay's name, Hashimoto's testimony was mentioned as the moment that began his redemption. He died in 2000, the last of Japan's wartime submarine commanders. His ashes were scattered at sea. The same sea that had once hidden him now became his resting place. The ocean is eternal, but it never forgets. Beneath those waves lie the wrecks of ships, the bones of sailors, and the echoes of men like Makitsura Hashimoto, warriors who lived in the silence between heartbeat and explosion. Their stories remind us that even in war, honor can survive. And in peace, remembrance is its truest victory. Fade out. The sound of sonar pings fades into the whisper of waves.
Thanks for watching my video all friend. Please one comment type and please subscribe my channel.